Welcome to Skyrise Academy. Today we are going to learn about governor through a very interesting method, that is mind mapping. Why we choose mind map? Because through mind maps our brain remembers things better and it's easy to add more things, and your brain will love you for creativity. And also when the new points come up, when the new news is there regarding this topic, you can easily add them in your notes when you mind map. However, if you have those traditional rigid system bullet points, then it might be very difficult to combine the common things together while you are making notes. So I would highly recommend you to start mind mapping for your preparation, and it will really help you and recollect things, and you will be able to memorize them better and have an edge over others. So today we are going to discuss about the governor. Because it has been in news, we know that there was a conflict between the governor and the state government in state of Kerala. So before we come to the current affairs, let's first see some static portion. So we will start by the constitution. So under part 6 of the Indian constitution deals with the state executive. So here are the sections. Articles 153 to 167 deals with the state executive. It consists of these people: governor, chief minister, council of ministers, advocate general of the state. However, please note here there is no office of vice governor, just like we have the office of vice president. So this is the difference between the center and the state. Do remember, there is no office of vice governor. Now, and this is very important from the prelims perspective, and also while writing mains, you should know these basic details. Now, how is a governor appointed? It is governed by Article 155. He is appointed by the president on the advice of prime minister. And we have a presidential nomination system for the appointment of governor and not some direct elections. Why? There are several reasons for this. Because we don't want separatist tendencies in the provinces. So to discourage it, this system has been selected by the constitution makers. Also, we need a governor who is impartial, who is not the member of any party. And if the governor is elected just like the chief minister, then there will be conflict between them, like who will be above whom. So to avoid that conflict, also there will be leadership issues. Who will lead the government? Who will lead the state? So that's why we wanted one elected leader and one nominated leader. And also the governor is a symbolic post. So to save the money, we have this presidential nomination for the governors. And as we know, governor is center's agent. So to maintain central's control over the state, and also direct election is incompatible with the parliamentary system. So for all these reasons, governor is appointed, nominated, and not indirectly elected. Like he's indirectly elected and there is no direct election for it. Now let's see the significance. He is the vital link between the center and the state. He is the constitutional head of the state and he is the agent of central government. So when you think of a governor, these significance of the post of governor should always be on your mind. There have been essays and many questions have been asked in GS paper 2 from governor's perspective. So all this is very important. Be very attentive and try to remember as much as possible, and then keep on revising so that you get a hand on it. Now let's see the tenure of the governor. Governor's tenure is 5 years, Article 156. He remains in the office on the pleasure of the president. Removal grounds are bribery, corruption, violation of constitution. So mostly governors are not removed from their office, and if there is some dispute, they are usually transferred from one state to other. What are the qualifications required? So constitutional qualification is the governor should be citizen of India and must have completed 35 years of age. There are some conventions also. Governor should always be an outsider, so as to stay away from local politics, and he must be appointed in consultation with the chief minister by the president. Some other conditions are he must not be the member of any house of the parliament or of the state legislature. If he is elected as the governor and if he is the current member, he has to vacate that seat before accepting the appointment as governor. He shall hold no office of profit and he is entitled to the Raj Bhavan residence and also the emoluments and allowance and other privileges. So this was some constitutional articles, constitutional provisions regarding governor. Now let's see what we'll see first. We will see the governor's powers. So the powers of governor can be divided into executive, legislative, financial and judicial. First we go to the executive. So all executive actions are taken in his name. He has the power of rule making also. He makes various appointments. He appoints the chief minister and other ministers, and in certain states such as Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, MP and Orissa, he appoints the tribal welfare minister. He also appoints the advocate general of the state. Now here it is important to note that advocate general holds the office at the pleasure of governor. He appoints state election commissioner, but state election commissioner cannot be removed otherwise provided by the grounds for the removal of High Court judges. So he doesn't hold the office at the pleasure of governor. This is important from the prelims perspective. And the governor also appoints the chairman and the members of State Public Service Commission. Now, though they are appointed by the governor, they can only be removed by the President of India. Some other executive powers are, he can seek information from the chief minister. He recommends imposition of constitutional emergency. Under Article 356, he also acts as a chancellor of university. Do remember this point, the current controversy in state of Kerala was on this point. So it is one of the executive power of the governor to act as a chancellor of universities. Now let's see his legislative powers. The legislative power of the governor begins with summoning or prorogue the state legislature and to dissolve the state legislative assembly. He addresses the state legislature the first time after the elections and also the first session every year. He has the power to send messages to the House with respect to pending bills. He appoints any member of the state legislative assembly in case of vacancy in the post of speaker or deputy speaker, and same is the case if there is a legislative council for chairman or deputy chairman. If there is a vacancy, he appoints them. Then he nominates 1/6 of the members of state legislative council, the people who have the special knowledge in literature, science, arts, cooperative movement and social service. He also nominates one Anglo-Indian member and he decides on the disqualification of members. Now let us see his powers regarding the bill. So when a bill is presented by the state legislature, he has these options. He can either give assent to the bill or withhold the bill. In case he withholds, then the bill just dies out. And then he can return the bill. If it is not a money bill, he can return the bill to the state legislature. However, he also has this option to reserve the bill for the consideration of president. So here there is one condition when it is obligatory. The constitution provides that when the bill endangers the position of High Court of the state, then it is obligatory for the governor to reserve the bill for the president. Some other cases where he can reserve is if he finds the bill content ultra-vires to the constitution or opposed to the directive principles of state policy or against the larger interest of the country, if it possesses grave national importance, and if the bill involves compulsory acquisition of property under Article 31A. So in these cases, the governor can reserve the bill for the consideration of president. And what can the president do? If it is an ordinary bill, the president either gives assent to the bill or he withholds the bill. Again, when he withholds, bill dies out and it doesn't become an act, or he can return for reconsideration. After if he sends for reconsideration, then the state legislature has to pass it again and give it for the assent of the president within 6 months. And here also, the president is not bound to give assent even after the reconsideration. Now, in case of money bill, he can either give assent to the bill or withhold the bill. However, he cannot send the money bill for reconsideration. Now, let's see for the promulgation of ordinances. So, governor even has power to promulgate ordinances. So, be very clear with the bill. Understand the flow of the bill. So, there are 4 options available to the governor, and whenever the bill is sent to the president, whether it is a money bill or if it is not a money bill, then the president has these 2 options. And whenever it is sent to the president, the governor's role is then limited. He has no role to play. His assent now doesn't matter, because now the matter is with the president, right? And governor cannot return the money bill. Why? Because it is generally introduced, that is the provision of the law, that money bill can be introduced in the house only with the prior recommendation of the governor. So that is why governor generally doesn't return the money bill. He can either withhold it or give assent or reserve the bill for the consideration of president, but governor cannot return a money bill to the state legislature. Now let us see on the promulgation of ordinances. So this is very important power. So whatever ordinance a governor promulgates when the house is not in session, that must be approved within 6 weeks. Now this is not a discretionary power. He can promulgate an ordinance only on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. And he even requires the President's instruction in 3 scenarios. First is when the provision requires previous section of the President. If the contents of the ordinance contain certain provisions which require previous sanction of the President, then the President's instructions are required before promulgating the ordinance. President's instructions are also required when it is necessary to reserve for the consideration of the President and when the provisions of the ordinance are invalid without President's assent. In all these situations, President's instructions are important. One last legislative function is to lay reports of the State Finance Commission, State Public Service Commission and CAG before the state legislature. Now let us see his financial functions. He lays down the annual financial statement, recommends money bills, recommends the grants, deals with the contingency fund when required. It happens with the permission of the governor, and constitutes the finance commission every 5 years for panchayats and municipalities. These are certain financial functions of the governor. Now let us see the judicial functions. Governor has the power to grant pardons, reprieve, respites, remissions of punishment or suspend, remit or commute any sentence. However, he cannot pardon a death sentence, but he can suspend, remit or commute a death sentence. Also, the governor has no authority in the court-martial punishments, and the authority to pardon death sentence lies only with the president. Do remember this difference between the governor and the president, because in prelims things can be tricky. So it's very important to note these differences. Further, he appoints the High Court judges in consultation, and he's consulted by the president in appointment of the High Court judges. Also, he appoints the district court judges, and he's involved in appointment of the judicial service members in consultation with the State Election Commissioner and State Public Service Commission. So these were some of the functions of the governor. Now let us see his constitutional position. So when we think of the constitutional position of the governor, we should be very clear with these 3 articles. Article 154 states, the executive power of the state shall be vested in the governor. So he is the symbolic head. He is the head of the state. All the executive actions are taken in the name of governor. Article 163 states that there shall be a council of ministers with chief minister as a head to aid and advise the governor. Article 164 states the council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the state legislative assembly. Now Article 164 is very important. It lays down the foundation of the parliamentary system of government. So if the question arises that from where does the parliamentary system, from how can India be said a parliamentary system? So you need to mention this article. It is the foundation of the parliamentary system. Now let's see, compare the constitutional position with that of the president. So a government does have certain discretion, whereas the president doesn't have the discretion. Ministerial advice is binding on the president by the 42nd Amendment. However, it is not, there is no such provision for the governor. So ministerial advice, the advice of Council of Ministers, is not binding on the governor. Now, governor enjoys certain discretion. So there are discretion can be divided again into constitutional discretion and situational discretion. So the constitutional discretion are reservation of the bill for the consideration of president. So we already learned that in the bill section, the governor has four options. One of them is to reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. Now the governor also has power to recommend imposition of president's rule in case of emergency and breakdown of constitutional machinery of the state. He has the power as the administrator of union territory. The state government cannot interfere with that. He also determines the amount payable to the tribal district councils in the four states Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. So when you draw a line from Assam to Tripura and Mizoram, so that it is easy to remember. So do remember the map: Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. A straight line is formed. It is very important to know which states have tribal district councils. Then he also has a constitutional discretion in seeking information from the chief minister on states' administrative and legislative matters. Now let's see the situational discretion of the governor. He appoints the chief minister in case of hung government. So it's his discretion. He can dismiss the council of ministers when it cannot prove the confidence of the state legislative assembly. And he also has the discretion to dissolve the state legislative assembly if the council of ministers lose the majority. So these are his situational discretion. The question has been often asked on the constitutional discretion of the governor, role of governor. So it's very important to know these provisions so that you can easily jot down your answers. Now let us see on the current issue. So whenever any new issues come up, you can always add on here. When you have a mind map ready, you don't need to write all the information again. It will be a quick revision for you also. You can easily revise the topic and you can add on new issues. You can put new things together. And if some other main topic comes, you can always draw a line from the main topic and add them to the mind map. So recently the issue was with the state of government of Kerala and from the governor Arif Khan. So he was very unhappy with the appointment of vice chancellor in a university, of reappointment of certain person by the state government. So state government and the governor were in conflict, and governor has its own power regarding the passage of bills. So chief minister knew this very well and he wanted to just calm everyone and resolve the issue. So what are the issues from legal point of view? So these conflict between the governor and the elected government keeps on happening. There is no time frame for the action to be taken. So if bill is passed, if bill is presented, so the governor can withhold the bill and there is no time frame, so bill just dies out. So solution can be there should be a certain time frame for which the bill can be withheld by the government. That is a lacuna of law. Also, there is no clarity on discretionary powers. So in case of president, we have this law that the ministerial advice is binding on the president. However, there is no such case in case of governor. There is no such law. So what can be the solution? First, the time frame must be fixed regarding the bills. When the governor withholds the bill, there must be a certain time frame. Say he can withhold for 6 months or maybe a year, and not after that. After that, he has to give the assent or return the bill for some modifications and changes or reconsideration to the state legislative assembly. So a time frame must be there. And same applies for the president also. President also has the power to withhold the bill, and again there the bill dies out. So there also a time frame must be given. Also, the governor enjoys so much discretionary power, so those powers must be defined, where he has the discretionary power and where he doesn't, where the advice of ministers is binding on him and where it is not binding. Also, there should be a provision that he has to comply with the cabinet on bills matter so that the legislative process becomes easy and new acts are easily passed and the government can function according to the elected government without any obstacles. Also, the office of chancellor is, very it is very time consuming and the governor gets deviated. So this office of vice chancellor in universities, this recommendation was given by the Pucci commission also, that the governor should not be appointed as vice chancellor of universities. They should be unburdened from this constitutional duties. It is one of the function of the governors, so they should be modified and the governor must not be appointed so that he can focus on the governance more. So these are some of the solutions for the post of governor to make it less in conflicts. So I hope you learned something new. If you have any queries or if you want to share your opinion, you can write us in the comment section. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. From now onwards, we will be learning more through mind maps so that it's very easy to remember and we can add new things. It's very flexible and just before the prelims or means you can easily revise most of the things you have learned. So I hope you liked the video. Thank you.